The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily of any PA Sports Radio, The Game, or the Bold Gold Media Group. This presentation is brought to you by the hosts of the program, who are solely responsible for its content.
Good morning and welcome to the Journey of Hope show on NEPA Sports Radio, The Game. I'm Suzanne Bolt.
And I'm Richard Bolt.
And we're here to encourage you this morning on your journey to hope today. We're talking with Rob Coscie, and he has a very, very amazing ministry up in the Dallas area. He is from Diamond Valley Ministries, and he's been doing a lot of work overseas as well, and I know that God has just been using him tremendously in our area, but he has a neat, just a really awesome Jesus story, and we're just here to get to know him a little bit better. Welcome, Rob. Thank you for coming.
Hey, guys. Thank you for asking me here. I'm really honored.
I wanted to just kind of open the door a little bit. We had talked before, you and I personally. You had come from basically a Catholic upbringing and then underwent some changes, just like many people in this area. And I was just going to kind of hand it over to you and let you talk a little bit about, what was it like for you growing up a little bit?
Yeah, it's dangerous to turn the mic over to a pastor, isn't it? That's a dangerous thing. Thanks very much. Just sit back and relax. No, we grew up around this area, born in Pittsburgh. We grew up around here, and just fantastic family. And we grew up Catholic for most of our childhood, and really, really appreciated that. The church we went to is still vibrant and active and wonderful, and so appreciated that. But my mom was looking for something a little more. God was just after her in a different way, and so she was on a bit of a journey, and the kids come along for the ride. And that journey took us through different places. One of them was the Presbyterian Church, which was phenomenal, and just had incredible friends and experiences there. Presbyterian Church in Dallas. But my own journey was, you're a teenager, and you don't want to make that a big part of your life. You're trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do, and, what mom's doing is fine, whatever. But all my life, I know he's been there. Little kid, I remember him talking to me. And I know that sounds strange. Even for those of us who have some kind of faith, sometimes the idea that he speaks to our heart is really foreign. Mm-hmm. But I remember being 5-6 years old and hearing his voice.
You didn't hear like the big Moses, I am Jesus, or I am God.
I set fire to a couple of things.
Coming from you.
But I didn't actually have the Bush thing.
Right, so. You didn't hear the booming voice, yeah.
Remember those blue Bible set of books you'd see in doctor's offices and stuff, the dentist or I used to have those, and I used to read those. I read really early, and just I could feel him talking to me. So even when I was growing up, I knew he was there. There's something about that. And so, when I was 16, I actually said, God, I really need you, Jesus. I need you. I want you to come in my heart. But I didn't tell anybody about it. I'm not going to tell my parents because I'm not going to let them, be right about anything.
Right. What good self-respecting teenager would do that, right?
I'm going to give my life to God and be as miserable as possible at the same time. But I'd wanted more than anything else. My goal was to be in the Air Force. I just had a profound love for it. My first memory ever is 3 years old watching Neil Armstrong land on the moon. And it burned in my memory. I just always wanted to do that. And then, of course, there's, big inspirations like I Dream of Jeannie and that kind of thing. Want to be, if I'm Major Nelson, I can find her somewhere. And I went into Air Force ROTC, and just a fantastic program here in the area at Wilkes University.
Okay.
And I was able to do that so I could stay home and still help with the business and help out there. And we had an amazing group of people there. It was such an incredible experience. And they, I know it's ROTC, it's not the academies and things, but they were really, really good. And just still appreciate them. And one along the course of things were going really well, and I was doing very well in ROTC. And they decided to do something they had never done before. Anybody military out there knows what SEER is. It's survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And
so that's for us Navy guys.
I will not hold that against you.
Didn't really need that one on a boat.
I can sit at a table with a squid and still be, it's all good.
You chair force guys.
Actually, we did have nice chairs.
You did. Yeah, we did.
We had somebody that wanted to do that with this SEER program with us, and we jumped at it with in the active military, it's a very, very serious program, and it's meant to help you to cope with being captured mentally, physically, emotionally, what happens. We had a lot of people really damaged mentally and emotionally, and captured in Vietnam and just could not handle it, and it was a big deal. So they came up with this program. So this was not going to be the full program. This is just a few days of this, a taste of it. But it's amazing. You get some of these professional guys together, interrogators out of mostly Army, Special Forces and things that they know what they're doing. And you take these little college kids, and wow. It became very real very fast. And all they wanted to do was to, you've heard or seen the movies, and it's, name, rank, serial number,
right,
date of birth kind of thing. And all they wanted was more information than that, because once they get more information, they start to own you, and they can start to make you think certain things and move certain ways and kind of control you. And they just wanted to teach people how to hold on. And we knew this, yet it got so real, and you're like, I just want to go home. Where's my mommy? And along the course of things, you are put into a large group setting, and then they'll drag you out individually for interrogation. And we were going through just some stuff I don't really talk about too much, but at my second interrogation, I'm kneeling. It was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm not sure. And you're holding bricks out to your side and kneeling down in front of the interrogator and another guy behind him in a very dark room. And there's what I found out later is a green beret behind you with a big switchblade up to your throat and stuff. And later on you found out the thing couldn't cut butter. But you don't know that. And there's just some things I know he's always been there, but just sometimes until you get to that point, you just don't know. And this guy, of course, was, you come from the Navy, you know every curse word there is, and then he's cussing at you as you can expect, and it's like whatever, because we all did that. But something just snapped. He said, "Jesus Christ, what is this blank, 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 blank?" And something just snapped inside my heart. Like, that hurt. I don't know why, but I'm shaking from the bricks, and I'm exhausted, and I hurt my back and the whole thing, and I'm just like, I just want to get out of here, but something just clicked inside me. And he looked at me and saw me in my reaction. He said, "Oh, you're not one of those, are you?" And I can't explain this any more than, because I know how odd this sounds, but I wasn't there. I had a face-to-face with Jesus, and I remember when I was a little kid, just being able to talk to him like this. And it was the first time since then I just talked to him, and I just looked at him, and he just it was just this unspoken thing between us of him saying, "You're mine." And I said, "I know, I am yours." Mm-hmm. And when I came back to myself, however long that was, my back straightened up and my arms went out again. I could hold the bricks, and I'm looking at this guy for the first time in the face. And I said, "Yes, I am. I am one of those." And we locked eyes, and he said, "Get him out of here." And they couldn't break me because God just kind of took over.
Wow. And by saying you're one of those, he was referring to your Christian faith? Yeah.
Yep. They used it as an example later. They weren't interested in the spiritual aspect of it, but just that you're able to hold on to something. Yeah. And I was one of the only ones out of 40 to make it through without some, and it just had a profound impact. It wasn't long after that God kind of changed the direction of things. And so I went to Bible college and met my future wife there. And,
okay.
Yep. And had just a real great experience from then on, a kind of accelerated experience of just saying, "Okay, God, every day, what do you want to do now? What's on your mind? How do you want to do this?" I had to leave the Air Force because during that exercise, I actually got hurt. That was the irony. I had this incredible experience with him and felt fantastic. I was one of the only ones to make it through, and they used me as an example, but I hurt my spine, and I couldn't run.
How'd you do that? What?
It was thousands and thousands and thousands of push-ups and sit-ups and leg lifts outside in the freezing rain in November and all that kind of stuff, and my spine just kind of twisted. And it just got worse. And so when they asked me to leave, I felt devastated.
Sure.
But I knew God was there. I'm just saying, okay, God, so what do you want to do? I'm yours, whatever you want to do.
I think it's interesting how you come to a point in the road where it's like your faith became a reality in a way that had never been before. And I know that several other people in my own life that have had similar types of experiences where all of a sudden they had these dreams and these visions of doing and being something specific or a professional, whatever it was, and it's like all of a sudden God brings you on a total left turn, and it sounds very similar to and it's amazing at those particular times how God is there. And there's just this knowing. And I know that you shared some of that, Richard, in your story a few weeks ago. And you came to a similar point.
Yeah, it just seems like there's times for some people you get to a... I don't know if you can expound on this more for yourself, Rob, but Pastor Rob, that... you said that you kind of said you accepted God, but you also kind of... almost seemed like you said you kind of hid him away for a period of time.
You want it both ways. Yeah. You want to do your own thing and still have this, like, well, I got him back here if I really need him kind of thing.
Kind of like a hip pocket thing. I got him in my hip pocket if I need him, but other than that, I'm cool.
Let me do my own thing.
My Swiss Army God.
That's a good Swiss Army God. That's a good analogy there. There's 145 different types of things you could pull out and use for. Sure.
But that never stays like that. Yeah. And it's like in a relationship. It's got to be real, or it's nothing. You're just going through the motions here. Right. And unfortunately, it took some extreme stuff with me. But he was so incredible to me. Mm-hmm. I've never known him not to be kind. This was not God breaking my back. He didn't do that to me. Mm-hmm. All the push-ups and sit-ups did that. But God has this incredible way of attaching fantastic provision and hope on the back of what the enemy is trying to do or what you're trying to go off and do by yourself. And he knows. He has factored in all my stupidity. I love that. To my future, I am so grateful that he's factored in all my stupidity, all my stupid decisions. He knows. Yeah. And he goes, I still love you, and we can still do this.
That's an amazing thing to think about. God does factor in our human stupidity into our lives as we walk them out. He really does. So.
Yeah, you've always said he doesn't waste anything.
Yeah.
So he takes our experiences, and then he brings it to where we need to hear him.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
There's such a joy and a freedom to that. I think we've all been through what the expectations are from people and what we think they are from God, and that's not what he's doing. It's this incredible thing. It's a paradox of, yes, he's completely sovereign and amazing and all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, and everything, and yet he chooses to, the Bible calls it co-laboring. Like, you get to choose along with him. And so I'm asking him, what do you want me to do? I'll do whatever you want. And he's saying, what do you love? And I realized, even though I'd set all this on the Air Force, I looked back at myself at this point and just said, okay, what do I really want now in my life? What's really important? And that's when you can just sit with him and go through that and evaluate this and hear him in a way that just frees you and doesn't make you feel like you are obligated.
I think this is a good spot to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and we will, go on from Rob's story right there. Of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to check us out on newhopenepa.com.
And welcome back to the Journey of Hope show here on NEPA Sports Radio, The Game.
And I'm Suzanne Bolt.
And I'm Richard Bolt. And before we left for break, we were talking to Rob about his experience in ROTC and his collision moment with God, and God kind of showing himself real to you. And just moving further from there. Go ahead and Rob, and let's jump back into our conversation here.
Well, right after that, that's that moment where you're just like, okay, God, I have no idea what to do, and I've been heading toward this for all this time. And there's a lot of people, I think, that kind of identify with that. Because we have this thing in our head, like, I've got to do this, or and we have this conversation with our children a lot. There's all the expectations from school and from culture, from society. Here's what you have to do, and you have to go and do this immediately, or else you're a failure. And that's kind of ingrained in us. And when those plans just kind of crash, it is this moment of loss of identity. Okay, what do I do? I know you're there, but I have no idea who I am and what am I supposed to do in you, and what does this look like? In your mind, you were going to do one thing in life. Absolutely. I thought, I'm grateful for God, but I can take it into this and this, and I'll do this and this. And he had something else in mind. And it's the first time I ever, I felt like he said, just don't eat for 3 days. I know that sounds odd, very strange, but I fasted for 3 days. And I woke up that third morning and really, really wanting pancakes. But beyond that, I could just hear him, and he said, I want you to go to work for me. And it was more of a, I could see in my mind just him coming up alongside me. I was more, going to work with him. And that's when, he said, let's go here to school and do this and this. And it just starts a new journey. And like everybody else, there's stuff you learn along the way. But I think the thing that he's been working on me my whole life has been this idea that, yes, he's in charge and he's sovereign and powerful, but he loves to do this through you, that there is such a joy and a grace, and it's not about religious service, it's not about the form, it's not about the rules. And we hear that, so we say, it's about relationship, but really to walk this out.
Growing up in a Catholic church, there is a lot of form and a lot of rules, and there's within the traditions. Did you find any conflict there?
There certainly is, but every church has rules. The evangelical one does too. We just don't print them out in the bulletin very much. Actually, the Catholic church I went to was wonderful. The people were awesome. I'm still friends with a lot of them. It was beautiful. It was more my own sense of obligation and just this sense like I've got to do something to be accepted. I've got to do something to be accepted by people, by whomever. And whether it's a true thing or not, I can't blame it on anybody else. It was just something that I grabbed onto, and I see a lot in other people, and we kind of transfer our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts and our mindsets on earth toward heaven, and we think of God sitting up there with a big hammer just ready to come down and crush you if you make a step out of line. Right. And I took my military brain into Christianity first, and part of that's kind of cool. God's your general, and you do whatever He says to do, and I'm a good little soldier, and I'll do this. But He has a different perspective. Well, it took me a while to learn, and I don't know that there were some incidents that I could point to that were transformational, but it's this process and this journey, and that's why I love the name of your show. That's exactly what it is. This is a journey of hope. This isn't, okay, you've got this down now, and now you're going to be the perfect little Christian. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's going to crash in about 3 hours.
Yes.
We say that so often at our church, that this is not the Suzanne and Richard dog and pony show, because if you start relying upon us, this is a pastor, start relying upon us, we're following Pastor so-and-so, or whether it be a rabbi or a priest or, whatever you would call that person, a clergy person, then as soon as they screw up, then it's like, the church falls apart.
Beyond that, the idea of that it's the process of it being a journey, that it just isn't a follow rule 1 to rule 2, rule 3 to rule 4, and okay, I've made it to heaven. And I like your take there, and you love to continue further that conversation of how do we walk in that journey so we can experience Christ
Exactly. That's the ongoing conversation we should be having all the time. Again, you're exactly right. It's not this list of things. That's exhausting. And it's damaging. Because as soon as one of those things goes wrong, or someone else does one of those, if we gather around together based on what we agree on, then the rules become more important than relationship. I've got to maintain the rules to make this whole thing work. So that if you disagree with me on anything, that's it. Nope, we broke the rules, and I have to do this and maintain my little world. That's not God. Yeah, He really is about relationships. So that my relationship with you is going to continue no matter what, and I love you, period, no matter what. And this is what I was beginning to learn in Him, and it changed the way that I saw other people. It changed the way that I, interacted with people. So I didn't have to perform on a Sunday morning. Sunday mornings were one of the most stressed out things for so long, because I'd take the military and the mindset of what are people's expectations and what do they need, and I've got to make them feel a certain way, and suddenly you are taking the place of God.
That's good.
That's a good.
So forget. You said pastor or priest or something. We're stepping in a way that we're not supposed to. Our joy and our privilege is to connect somebody to who they are in Him, equip them for who they can possibly be, and bless them in it. It's not to tell them, here's what you have to do to be happy. Here's what you have to do to be accepted by God. Here's what you have to do to be accepted by this little group of people. It's to bless you and let God do the rest. So that's been the journey then. I realize a lot of people will go, that sounds too, I don't even know what the word is.
Too easy.
Yeah.
I think some people would say, well, that's too easy. That's all
it sure sounds like it.
Hope with God, just
I have been
experience
told,
life with Him.
I've been told, that grace, I preach too much of it, but dang, I've never... Am I allowed to say that on the radio? Okay, that's okay, good. Grace is not budgeted by God.
Right.
He doesn't hold back some and give some to others. His grace is freely given, freely received, and that's what we're supposed to do as well.
He's very liberal with His gift of grace.
He is with His love. I love the word loving kindness in the Bible. I kept running into Him. Every time I would mess up, He would not crush me. He kept being kind to me. I'd crush myself. You put, every time you mess up, you put yourself in spiritual jail, right? Like, that's probably a 2-dayer. He can't talk to me for the next 2 days, and come later. That's a bad one. That was a week, so I can't talk to anybody for a week, or I can't talk to him for a week until he forgives me. And He's not saying anything like that. He's saying, "Come here, let's do this better. I can show you a better way, and my grace is what will enable you to do that." Grace isn't this, I can barely make it to heaven now. Grace is His empowering presence to help you accomplish all that He sees you can be.
That's right.
And that's been our journey, is how do we live in this and communicate this? And we've had our times of testing in this. And each time He has been more and more incredible and gracious and joyful. Every time we run into difficulties and circumstances that seem overwhelming, He just has met us with joy and kindness and been teaching us how to see that from His perspective. That He is not afraid of people's sin. He is not afraid of people messing up. He's not afraid of people making mistakes. He loves to redeem. He loves to change hearts. He loves to change minds. I love studying the redeemed mind. It's been a passion, because all my life He's been trying to tell me, hey, here's a better way to look at this. Here's a better way to think about this. Here's how I see this. When I think about that, even from when I was at my very, very lowest, and I think we've all seen pictures or seen ourselves looking up to heaven going, God, where are you? Where are you? We talk about brass ceilings and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And He's saying that is not the picture that Jesus enabled us for. The picture is that not me standing on earth looking up to heaven saying, God, where are you? But me actually being invited into His presence, looking down on my circumstances saying, oh, that's how you see them, God. It's living from heaven toward earth and not the other way around.
I think that's extremely powerful. How practically do you feel that we could go, because there's so many people that I know that live in that place. It's always looking, God, where are you? to changing that perspective? How do we get to the place where our perspective is changed?
One of the ways that we have been committed to is it's not hard for us to look at somebody and go, hey, let me list the 1,700 things that you're screwing up right now.
Right.
Here's what you have to do. You need to change this and change this and change this. And some people, I guess, might respond to that. I know I did not very well, because then you're just giving them more to manage. And he's not in the business of giving us more to manage. Stewarding and managing are very different. When I'm stewarding things, I'm doing it with him, in his presence. I'm not trying to control things. I'm just doing it with him. There's a big difference between managing your mind and renewing it. Managing, I'm doing it in my own strength, my own control, my own experience. I'm just only doing it out of my own expectations and fears and everything else. But when I'm renewing my mind, I'm listening, saying, okay, God, how do you see this? So I do that with other people as well. If I'm sitting with somebody like this, I'm asking God, how do you see them? How do you want to bless them? And it might be something as simple as, God absolutely adores you. And you are so sweet. Your heart is this. I know that you have been feeling, down and crushed, and you've been seeing this. But God's been saying to you that He has incredible plans for you. And just speaking to them from what He's saying, not blowing smoke. I mean, honestly asking God, how do you see them? How can I bless this person? We know, most people know where they've been messing up.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, I don't have to tell somebody that.
Very true.
But to tell somebody, you were made for this. You were made for blessing. You were made for grace. You were made for joy. And to explain to them and equip them for who they are supposed to be, most people respond to that really well. And they start to see themselves as God sees them. And if they can hear Him for themselves, we win. That's
100% of the time we win. That's good.
I know for me, sometimes as walking in pastoral ministry, and it is sometimes very frustrating when you see people just constantly making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it is very difficult. I had this conversation just this last week with somebody who's not even in our church, man, this situation is frustrating me. I mean, if this person keeps poking themselves in the eye, and I'd say, well, quit poking yourself in the eye and you won't be hurt. But then they turn around and they do it again. And it's kind of like, okay, Lord, give me the wisdom, one, to love. Because I know that when you see things, and, sometimes not to operate in judgment, but to operate in His love and to see people the way that God sees them is a whole lot easier said than done.
I know people say grace is easy and I take the easy way out. No, grace and love are difficult sometimes. They are. Absolutely. But there's just no other way. I am convinced that I don't think the world has as much of I don't even know how to put this, like a sin problem as much as it has a lack of goodness problem. The church will look at a situation that it disagrees with and say, oh, we're going to pull up our walls and we're going to establish our defenses here. And instead of interacting with the world, instead of blessing it, we're supposed to be overflowing with His goodness and kindness and joy and wisdom and creativity and bringing answers to things. And instead of doing that, we pull back into our little hovels and just wait for the end to come. And so the world just has to go off by themselves. There's very few people who I've seen that have been really great at just bringing His goodness and creativity, no matter what, His love, His joy, His wisdom, and transforming an area. That's what we're supposed to do. And whether it's an individual or a city, you guys have been doing that fantastically. Your church has been blessing the city of Wilkes-Barre. It's awesome to see. You've been living that. It's been fun.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome back to the Journey of Hope on NAPA Sports Radio, The Game. I'm Suzanne Bold.
And I'm Richard Bold.
And we are here talking with Rob Coscie, and we have been talking about really the power of grace and what and how God has such a heart for His community, not to judge it, not to be harsh, but to really love and to embrace our community and our lives and individually. And I appreciate what you said as we were going into break, because I know that Richard and I, we talk about it. We have such a desire to see people come to an understanding that it is about a relationship with God. Yes, just as you, I'm sure at your church, you want to see your church grow and you want to see people come, but it's more than just pushing a particular church or particular. It's really, how can we encourage people? Because we know that we're not the answer for everybody.
That's right.
We, as far as the church body is concerned, but as we partner and work with you up in Dallas and Diamond Valley, and as we partner with
other churches,
the Baptist churches in the area and the Presbyterian churches in the area, and we work together, people can come to a revelation that God doesn't want to beat them over the head with a stick, but that He does want to embrace them and love them, and show them His grace. What do you think is really, as us as churches, as we come together and as believers, just believers, not really even churches, how can we really be better examples in our community and showing God's grace so they don't feel afraid like they're going to be judged? Because that's one of the things that I've seen. A lot of people just seem to be afraid that if I tell them or if I show them, who I really am, I'm just going to be judged and, put into a box. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's one that, it's an ongoing one too. It's something that is actually a big part of our lives. I can't bless somebody else if I'm not secure in my own self. I can hand out a 1975 tract or something and say, you need to come to church. Right. But don't tell them why, or be interested in their lives, or even remember their name. But if I am really secure in who I am in Him, then it's an overflow. It's a natural thing to want to just give that away. And I don't mean give away religion, like you said. I love this. Even in the book of Revelation, Jesus spoke to the 7 churches. They were regions. They weren't little individual buildings. And when we get insecure, and I say pastors get insecure, we are all about trying to perpetuate our little thing and forget about what God is saying to the whole area. And this is a message I believe He's bringing to our area. I think probably to our nation as well, but to our whole area. And which means that, like you said, I need to pull back and say then, okay, so who am I? And then how do I bless someone else? Every day, almost every day, I ask Him a certain question, and it's made a massive difference in my relationship with Him and how I interact with other people. And that is, Lord, what do you want to be for me now that maybe you could not have been at any other time? And I realize, well, it sounds simplistic, but if you think about it, I'm listening for Him then say, who do you want to be right now? If He says love, as a matter of fact, He did say that not too long ago. And I was mowing the lawn, and I was asking Him, so what do you want to be for me now, God? He said, love. I said, well, no. That must be me. I've already done that one. I know the John 3:16 thing, and I know the whole deal. He said, no, I want to be loved like you have never known it. I'm like, oh, and I shut off the mower. So what does that mean? So I'm going to take you on the next journey of what love looks like. And He has been. And there's been such a grace and a peace that came along with it. I'm looking for Him as love everywhere I go then. I'm looking for that in other people. I'm looking for Him to show up, where in the Bible, in Matthew, it says, Lord, when did we feed you and clothe you? And when you did it to the least of my brothers, you did it to me. I'm looking for Him everywhere. When He says, I want to be peace for you, I know that He is giving opportunities for that all the time. And that's what He's trying to increase in me. It's not just, okay, now I've got that one down. Now I've got my medal and peace and joy. Now I can do this. No, it's just an ongoing upgrade all the time in love, all the time in joy, all the time in peace, all the time in the fruit of being with Him. If I have this security, this relationship with Him, and knowing that I'm this is all I am. Okay, I am just this. I don't have anything to hide. I'm on my own journey. I am not all that. I could wear my armor, which is the suit and tie, which all kind of thing, and act all professional. That's usually to keep people at a distance. No, this is just who I am. And if I am not secure in God, so secure that I can tell somebody I don't know when they ask me a question.
Mm-hmm.
And to love them despite that. And when they ask me, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why did this? I don't know. I just know that he loves you, and you are brilliant at this and this and this. And here's what he's saying to us right now. Well, let's focus on that. There's a freedom and a joy there. And I don't have to be all things to all people. And out of that, I could just bless somebody then. I know it's a long answer to a short question, but it all comes down to who is he in me, and out of that will flow the rivers of living water.
Right.
Because,
I think, we haven't even talked about your bout that you had recently with lung cancer and what God has done in your life in and through that. I think so much of what you're saying, though, I think people hit this point of crisis. You hear that C word, that cancer word, and it has a lot of this that you're talking about. Has this really been formulated through that? How has this whole thing affected your family and walking?
Yeah, there is certainly an acceleration in this.
Sure.
A few years ago, I was not feeling real well, and it was a few years before that too. I know, there's a lot of cancer in my family, but you can do some things to kind of curb that, and how you live and things. But I was really going through a period of great stress. Despite all we're talking about, it's life, man. And you're trying to deal with it and trying to learn all this as you go along, and that stress kind of hits your immune system, and I think that's probably what helped to accelerate this. I was not feeling well, and I was getting some pain in my chest and just feeling really run down. And one morning I woke up and I was just in agony in my chest and my back, and I went to a friend of mine, a chiropractor, Phil Webb, who's just an amazing guy. And he looked at me and said, "Rob, I'm not going to touch you. Something else is going on here." And he sent me to an MRI. I'd gone to my regular doctor for about 6 months for this, and he kept saying it was bronchitis, but nothing was helping. And then my chiropractor caught it. He sent me for the MRI, and he called me that afternoon and said, "Rob, this looks like lymphoma." Mm-hmm. So it wasn't lung cancer, but it turns out it was a non-Hodgkin's form of lymphoma. I got a tumor about the big as your fist, right on my sternum. And it was so big and powerful, it actually cracked it. That's what happened that morning. That's where the pain came from. And yeah, it was an interesting moment. Okay, God, so this one's interesting. And there was a moment, you're not going to lie about it. It's like, whew, is this it? I had planned on this, and suddenly all these things come at you of like, wait, I need to see my daughter get married. I need to see my son do this. I'm not done yet. But then I'm able to ask him that question again. And I just said, who do you want to be for me now that you could not be before? Mm-hmm. And I didn't get and like you hear him in your heart kind of thing, or like I said, a word pops in your head like love or something. I was by myself, and that place between sleep and awake?
Yes.
So it started off as a dream and continued on as I was waking up, and he was just holding out his hand, and this was Jesus in my dream and in my wake, and he wasn't serious and scowling and sad or like, oh yeah, you're gonna die, it's too bad. Sorry about that, buddy, nothing I can do about it. He'd hold out his hand, and we would just walk together. And I know it seems strange, it was odd, but every day that's what we would do. I'd wake up and I'd just see him, I'd close my eyes and I'd see him, he'd hold out his hand.
Oh, that's powerful.
We'd walk through what looked like the valley of the shadow of death. And I went through a lot of chemo, had some great doctors. Henry Cancer Center was just brilliant and beautiful people, awesome people. But this is the journey. I've seen some people get miraculously healed in an instant, and I love that, and I wish that had happened. But my own journey took me through 650 hours of chemo.
Wow, that's a lot of chemo.
It was a lot of chemo. It was a lot of chemo.
You were bald when I first met you.
Yeah. It
wasn't a bad look for you, I have to tell you. It really was. But
the bald was fine. It was the lack of eyebrows and all that kind of stuff. This is looking a little alien now. But even that, I remember the day it started to come out, and I was at the doctor's office, and I was just in the waiting room, and I scratched my head, and I got a clump of hair in my hand, and I just closed my eyes, and I could hear him and see him again, and he was just smiling and saying, "I'm here. It's okay."
Wow.
And there was always this upgrading, ongoing, transformational peace that was happening the entire time. And of course, my wife Angie and my kids, Kim and Rob, were just brilliant and amazing and so encouraging and so supportive. And that was massive. And I had people around me from church and friends who did a benefit for us, and just that were incredible. But every day, he was there. And so when you say, all this was tested and things, it sure was, but in the most amazing, wonderful way. I know that I am here by grace. You can imagine if you go through something like this, that you really do appreciate being here. That's one of the most amazing things about being at the Henry Cancer Center. I kind of expected, I don't know, to go in there and see people just depressed and on the verge of just a nervous breakdown or whatever. And you go in there and people are just joyful and laughing, and because they know, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, so I'm going to enjoy this day. I'm not letting this take away my life any more than it has. And that taught me so much about life and so much about Jesus, so much about God, that I grew up kind of the stressed out, like, what about this and what about this kind of person, and even into ministry. I took that into ministry, and so you see people from a point of view of and it's horrible to say, but it was the truth. Even unconsciously, you'd see people like, oh, good, more new people, then there's more in the offering, and I can keep things going, and I can keep my job, and do this and this. And you don't see people for who they are in Him, and much less be able to enjoy the day and truly bless someone. But you get stressed out about all these things that you think are important. And so those months and months of going through treatment were transformational in my body for sure, but more in my mind and my heart of what's really important here, and what do you want me to do? What we're doing right now, sitting around with the microphones, and this is what we do at church.
Yeah.
I really appreciate every other church around us. I so appreciate having come from the Catholic and the Presbyterian backgrounds I did, and the Assembly of God backgrounds. That's why I went to an Assembly of God college. But it's not who we are. I love this. I love the interaction. I love, I know it sounds odd, but I had another dream. Those dreams where you're dreaming. They're kind of fun, and you can, and this is one that was a blast. It was being in heaven. It was fantastic in this conference room and Jesus is sitting at the conference table, and on the table are some puzzle pieces, and in my hand is a puzzle piece. And the dream didn't last long. It didn't have to. I looked at him, and he nodded at me, and I said, "Oh, I get it. I have a puzzle piece. That's it. I don't have to have the whole picture." Whether it's church or anything else, everyone has a puzzle piece. And this picture we're making is this brilliant picture of God and what He's doing in our area. And I don't have to tell people exactly all that's happening. I can't know that. I'm just one person. So I love, our personal expression of church is, I'll have a little piece to bring, but everyone jumps in and shares. And by the time we're done, I take away much more than we ever gave. And it's so much more freeing than the way we were doing it before. And so I just found through the cancer, through the treatment, through my relationship with Him, through these amazing family and friends, that life is really, really special. And I'm not going to waste it on stress. I'm not going to waste it on anxiety. I'm not going to waste it on fear. I'm not going to waste it on anger. I'm not going to waste it on bitterness. That there's just too much joy and life not to experience those right now and to give them away.
Well, welcome back to the Journey of Hope on NAPA Sports Radio The Game. I'm Suzanne Bolt.
And I'm Richard Bolt.
And we've been here with Rob Coscie, and he's been sharing his amazing story and having just a wonderful discussion. One of the things about Rob is that many of you probably don't know is he has an amazing ability to write. Some of it's quite humorous. He has an amazing relationship with his dogs that we haven't touched much on.
So needs to become a comic strip.
He is the pastor of Diamond Valley Ministries up in Dallas, Pennsylvania, up in the Dallas area. And if you are looking for a church or thinking about visiting a church, I would encourage you to feel free to visit him. You can get him online at diamondvalleyministries.weebly.com. Or you can probably just Google Diamond Valley Ministries and find him there.
You'll find us somewhere.
You'll find us somewhere up there. He shared something this morning as he was as he posted it on Facebook that I really want to share with you because I thought it was just so powerful. He was talking about the week, and he says, if today's a struggle, is don't just stuff your thoughts and feelings down again just to make it through. Don't just survive until your next day off. When you have a moment, ask God, why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking these things? Where is all this stress coming from? You may be thinking, I'm stressed because of a massive list of things I have to do. Everyone keeps adding to it, the kids, whatever. But the problem is rarely the real problem. If you stripped away all your responsibilities, are those feelings still there? That's such an awesome question. If they are, take the time with him. Let him show you where that anxiety and frustration and sadness are coming from. Then give them over to him, meaning Jesus. I know that may sound weird and simplistic, but the act of saying, quote, this situation, this person is yours, Lord, removes the burden you are carrying. Ask him to show you how he sees your responsibilities, and ask him to tell you how he sees you. Instead of your circumstances defining your identity, trust him to let him replace the negative thinking with his incredible thoughts of you. This isn't a fortune-telling psychology. He writes, he says, this is King David crying out, why is my soul so downcast? Why am I so sad? I will put my hope in God. Isn't that what we're about here? In putting our hope in Christ. This is the renewed mind that demonstrates the goodness and wholeness of God's will for your life, coming from Romans 12. This is the power of Paul's think on these things, listing and meditating on what's true, honorable, good, right, pure, beautiful, displacing everything in your mind that isn't, in Philippians chapter 4. This is the encouraging truth given to Timothy, that God has not given us over to this spirit of fear. Just the opposite. We are designed to live every day in God's power and love with a sound mind, that comes out of 2 Timothy chapter 1. This is the gospel that Jesus Christ saves you, not to just barely make it to heaven, but blesses you here and now. This is being honest enough to stop the fake it until you make it religion and let God's grace actually transform your heart and your mind, your life, and your world. God does not budget his grace. He has more than enough to make your Saturday amazing. So anyway, when I read that this morning, that was just amazing to me, because I thought, you know what, that is so powerful, and it's so contrary to what we kind of being taught by religion and religious circles today.
Normally, the Facebook is just me working out my own stuff. I know this is, I'll put it in language that sounds like a devotional in the morning, but this is just what my time was with him this morning. Sometimes it'll take weeks. Just one sentence will take weeks, because I need to work it through with him. I need to live it. I need to really have it part of me before I release it. And I'm writing a book now. I have a chapter in a couple other books, but I'm writing one, a devotional that will have the dogs in it. And it will kind of be a devotional based on my journey through cancer and things. Hopefully to really, really bless people. But this is that same question, this morning, asking him, so what do you want to be for me today?
Yeah.
And then he'll help me to translate that, so hopefully somebody else can grab onto it. But this is what we do. This is what he's been doing with us. This ongoing relationship. If anything happened, it shouldn't change who he is in my life right now. And I think the cancer really showed that in my own heart. And no matter what anybody else says or thinks or whatever, I know who he is. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what he did in me. I know. I tell you, he's done so many incredible things that people might shake their heads out, but I know that I know that I know, and it comes out and things like that. I couldn't write that if I didn't have it as part of who I am. After chemo, you can imagine the chemo damages other things in your body, and it goes first after the nerves, and so you get some really wonderful neuropathy, and you're in incredible pain all the time. And my wife and I were at a conference in Brooklyn, and a friend came up to me, and he saw I was in pain, and I'm going to live, but every step was really, really painful. And he said, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" I said, "Of course not." And I'm sure maybe if you haven't had it happen to you, you can imagine it, someone pouring a bucket of warm water over your head. He prayed for me, and that's what it felt like. And all the pain just drained out of my body. Oh, wow. And I can't answer you why did I have to go through 650 hours of chemo, but still have this incredible experience. I put those things into a little, I have no idea box, and just say, God, I thank you so much. I just know that you are so incredible and real and fantastic and joyful, and you are such a blessing, and you are everything. And the more I thank him, the more I dwell on that, the more my heart changes, my mind changes. And this is not about a job. This is not about promoting a brand. This is just about living out a blessing, living out what he's put in you. So that I really pray that over people, and we do that all the time, and trying to help people see their circumstances not from the bottom of them, but seeing them from his perspective. Asking yourself, wait a second, why do I feel this way? We're so accustomed to reacting to situations, and then somebody says something, you just snap, and you don't even know why. And I love, as your relationship with him grows, and you're asking those questions, what do you want to be for me? Who am I in you today? Who do you see me as? Then when those feelings come up, you're able to say, okay, where's that coming from? Yeah. Sometimes it's not even your feelings. You're just picking up on other people's stuff. Sometimes it is coming from circumstances and stress, and that I can say, okay, God, this is yours. I have control over this. I want to do this really, really well. I have the ability to do this and this and this, but these are not mine, and I put those back in your hands. I have no control over that stuff. And being able to hear him work through that with you makes all the difference in the world. It made all the difference going through treatment as well. That I know I have the ability to do very little. I was just getting chemo, hour after hour, but I can do this and this. I can bless. I can still do this without having the weight of I've got to make this happen and make this happen and do this for this person, and all this is up to me. No, this is just up to you, God. There's a verse in Romans that's really, really important to us in chapter 2. And Paul writes that it is the goodness of God that leads you to repentance. And we kind of gloss over that.
Yeah, we do.
We're so accustomed to getting up there and preaching a message to make people feel guilty, and we don't let the Holy Spirit convict people. We do it ourselves, and by judging and things and trying to find fault and whatever. And we don't realize it is his goodness that leads to repentance. I know this is maybe a controversial statement with some people, but any repentance that is not done as a response to his goodness isn't going to last very long.
That's true.
You're to come back to that altar every week because you keep messing up. You just keep going over and over and over again. But when I know that he is good, I can bring all that to him. And it becomes a true journey of hope. And not this crawling on my knees, just trying to make it from place to place without getting shot. And so it's just been a blessing. I've just enjoyed my life more and more and more, and enjoy what we're doing. We called it Diamond Valley because we are a coal region, and but the coal's gone, And God sees the people as diamonds.
Right.
And
That's good.
That's what we wanted to do, was just bless people that way.
That's good. Well, that's the hope with the show, that we know that just recently being newbies in this area for us, but we can see that there's so many people with the coal gone and that gone now. They've lost hope.
Yeah.
They've lost hope. We want to give hope to them.
Well, I just think that that's so powerful, and our hope in this show is that people can see that they can have relationship, and that they have the opportunity, and God loves them and cares about them. Right. And just because you're in ministry in some form or fashion does not mean that you're not going to hit those trials and you're not going to go through it. That we too are on an incredible journey, and God's love for us is immense, and God's love for you is immense, and He cares about you and has a plan and purpose for your life.
That's right.
And so
destiny for each and every person out there.
That's right. And so having said that, we're running out of time. It's amazing how quickly an hour goes. And so that's really it this week for the Journey of Hope. I just thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.
For your time and for your wisdom that you give us. Yes. We will be here next week again at 8 o'clock. My name is Suzanne Bolt.
And I'm Richard Bolt.
And feel free to check us out on newhopenepa.com, and we will see you again this next Saturday
on NEPA Sports Radio, The Game.